Right. We are on live now with Facebook. Welcome. Good evening, dear audience. This is SM Masum Billah welcoming you to our weekly program, to ELCOP's weekly venture known as Swapno, Dakhe, Bangladesh, roughly translated as Bangladesh has a dream. And you know what? ELCOP works with the enlightenment, with the empowerment of the common people, also with the human rights. Only the other day, we observed the 75th anniversary of the adoption of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And the topic today we are going to cover is the strength of ocean, as well as probably it has some connection with human rights as well, because the preamble of the United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea says that people has the right to have an orderly international, economic order. Will be speaking on that, but let me tell you that today we have been joined by a very esteemed guest all over from Poland, and she is none else than Dr. Joanna Siekiera. Let me give you her profile first, and then I will introduce you with Dr. Siquiera. Dr. Joanna is an international lawyer, a doctor of public policy from Poland. She works as a legal advisor to various military institutions, as well as fellow at the United States Marine Corps Krulak for Innovation and Future Warfare. Dr. Siquiera did her postdoctoral research at the Faculty of Law, University of Bergen, Norway, and did her PhD studies in New Zealand and and Poland as well. Her city is Warsaw. In fact, I don't know how much distance from the Warsaw and Warsaw, but I assume it's close. So we have been a doctoral fellow at the Victoria University of Wellington, and I took this advantage to invite Dr. Joanna. She is the author of over 100 scientific publications in several languages, 40 legal opinions in the Polish Ministry of Justice, as well as the book Regional Policy in the South Pacific, and the editors of 8 monographs on international law, international relations, and security. Her areas of expertise are LOAC, lawfare, legal culture in armed conflict, NATO legal framework, and the Indo-Pacific region, Pacific law, and maritime security. Dr. Joanna Siekiera, welcome from Bangladesh and welcome to my program.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Masum Billah, my dearest friend, my fellow PhD candidate. I remember the times when we were studying in New Zealand. It's my honor. Thank you to be here at your program. Good afternoon from Poland to you, to ladies and gentlemen listening to us. I am very, very honored and happy, and I hope you will learn something from our today's discussion.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say something about Bangladesh-Poland relationship, Joanna.
Please do.
Bangladesh achieved its independence in 1971 from the clashes of Pakistan. We are a part of Indian subcontinent. And in 1947, the British left Indian subcontinent, dividing India and Pakistan. Then after 24 hours, we got separated from Pakistan as a sovereign independent nation. And interestingly, I found that Poland is the 6th country to recognize Bangladesh, and what a good gesture of relationship. And you know what? Poland recognized Bangladesh on 12th January 1972, which is just 2 days later when the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, returned from Bangladesh. So we have a very long-standing relationship. We have economic ties between Bangladesh and Poland, and also a very interesting information. During the COVID days, Poland donated 3.2 million COVID vaccine to Bangladesh, a success of the vaccine diplomacy by our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. So how do you feel to be connected to Bangladesh, and how do you evaluate the relationship between Poland and Bangladesh, Joanna?
Yes, thank you, Masum, for telling me all of that. I was not aware. First of all, Poland accepting, approving, and promoting your sovereignty, I see it as a very natural step. Poland as a country exists from 10th century, but every century we've been invaded by our neighbors. So we know how to fight for our sovereignty. We know how to keep our language, tradition, religion, language, all of that. So I'm not surprised that we've been supporting you. And as for current relations, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am aware of many Bangladeshi living mainly in Warsaw, the capital of Poland, working primarily as engineers, data scientists, but also physical workers as taxi drivers or cooks. So yes, you are visible in Poland.
Right. Joanna, my first question to you is, in the meantime, I ask my audience to make any comments or any observation, and also you can pose questions to Joanna, which I will raise in due course if you have any. You are widely traveled, and you are educated in Poland, in New Zealand, in Norway, in America. You have worked with many countries' government in many capacities. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you going?
Thank you very much, Masum. I feel blessed whenever I meet people from different countries, different cultures, but also us as lawyers, we would say legal cultures. So what kind of sets of values are important for a particular society? Why we codified some norms and why we don't codify others. I think that's very interesting because it shows our interconnection, interculturality. And here I would like to underline interculturality, not multiculturality, because the latter is really focused and does not work many places. But interculturality, when we ask also how to improve international law system as the global or regional level, we always have to ask why. What are the values which countries would agree, would fight for, or they don't care, they don't bother. And as you pointed, my areas, my countries I've been educated here, ladies and gentlemen, you can see New Zealand, our New Zealand, the region of Pacific, which is the largest water basin on the planet, but still not many people deal with this area. But it's very crucial for us, and also the topic, as we coined and for today's episode, is about the oceans, because of course we focus on lands as the decision-making headquarters are on land. But again, a vast majority of our planet is the ocean.
Right. I will move on to that a bit later. But before that, I have another question for you. Look, your area of interest is very distinctive in nature. I found this term lawfare. I'm sure many of us still don't understand or not that much acquainted with the term lawfare. Your area is legal culture in armed conflict, and I have seen you taking classes in training courses with the militaries about the peaceful objectives of ocean governance, right? Some very special area with focus on Pacific region. Why did you choose this area as an area of interest?
Beautiful question, dear Masum. Maybe because I'm very contrarian, I get very angry when there is no topic, when there is no books, when nobody dealt with that before. So I thought that, well, somebody has to do that, and apparently that has to be me. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when we as lawyers focus on law, it's of course with the benefit of us all. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. So some states or non-state actors, they have been misusing law, international law, institutions, norms, And here we come to lawfare, so legal warfare, how law is being used during armed conflict. And
Sure.
I am sad to say that many states or non-state actors, they mastered lawfare, while others just observe. And this is not good, because we invest so much in weaponry, we invest so much
Sure.
in heavy weapons tactics, also in economic bondages. But how about law? How about legal cooperation? Because yes, I must admit, and if you have some time, please check YouTube. I gave some lectures for American Army and American Marines, that international law is weak, is leaky.
Right.
It has full of gaps. Yet it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing to that extent that some perpetrators will use and justify their illegal tactics using exactly existing law.
True, true. Now, you were referring to your work, particularly to your book. Can I know a bit for my audience that what is your latest work and what is the work about, and introduce your latest work with my audience?
Thank you. That is my pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my latest book. It is called 21st Century as the Pacific Century, Culture and Security of Oceania States in Great Power Competition. Pictures I took during my cruise during the ocean, Pacific Ocean. I was sailing on the open sea here from Palau up to, Fiji up to Palau. And ladies and gentlemen, this book is in open access. So
really? That's great.
I hope that you will
can
all
they download it?
Yes, definitely, Masum. Let's do that. I hope all your audience would be happy to read it. I have international experts from different countries, but not only academics, because I was trying to get people from different countries, different disciplines. I have some militaries, some academics, practitioners, but also theoreticians. So I truly believe that this book will give you insight inside the region. So not only Indo-Pacific, as we usually understand as a great power competition, so the Pacific Rim, but also those tiny little islands, sovereign but also dependent territories in between.
That's great. Let me recognize the presence of Raihan is welcoming you, Sumaya, Choiti. Indeed, a great question for Dr. Joanna. Sayeda Nizum, hello, sir. Hello, miss. Eagerly waiting for the talk show. Nizum again said, glad to know it's open access. Thank you. So we wish a wider circulation of your work. And look, Joanna, we have told our audience that our topic will be a strength of the ocean sea. What, according to your opinion, is the strength of ocean? I'm sure in my audience, there are some law of the sea students as well. And I'm very much obsessed with law of the sea recently, because Bangladesh also have won 2 cases against Myanmar and India, and have accessed great in an it-loss case and a special arbitration case back in 2012 and 2014. So this has opened a new horizon for Bangladesh to have access to sea resources. But as you know, being a developed country, we have these challenges like all other developing countries have. And particularly, you were referring to the low-lying islands, the submerging nations, right? So my first question to you about the topic is, what is the strength of the ocean? Why ocean is important? And how the geopolitical issues is related with it?
I love this question, though. It's very complex because, ladies and gentlemen, we must look at it from various different angles. So politics, law, economy, security, ocean change, that is climate change, but referring only to the ocean. First of all, exactly, you mentioned United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. Yet it is not ratified by all countries, and even it is, they do not necessarily follow. So again, this is the weakness of international law, that there is no executive body, there is no obligatory judicial system, and also there is no element of sanction, ladies and gentlemen. At the national law, we do have hypothesis, disposition, and sanction, but international, we have only the two first without a sanction. So that gives a lot of freedom to countries. So they could pick and choose what they like and what they do not like. Of course, this is a big generalization, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, it looks like this. When it comes to ocean, ladies and gentlemen, what I can observe, two things, and it also answers your question about smaller developing countries. So first of all, deep sea mining. So far, I like to underline that technology is not yet as advanced. So countries or private companies would dig in and get the materials, raw materials, for their own benefit. According to UNCLOS, whatever is outside of national spheres of jurisdiction, it is called human. Now I got lost what I wanted to say.
Human security.
Exactly. Yes. So everyone is welcome to use from the ocean, from the sources, resources, living, so fish and other, but also materials. But on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, as again, we don't live in a perfect world. We can only imagine that once technology is so advanced, the war might start for resources to get down to the seabed and to get those resources. This is dangerous. And as for small developing countries, especially those in Oceania who are being threatened by submerged consequences. So when the territory is being submerged, what to do with their territory, their status of sovereignty? Are they still sovereign countries or not? Yet, please mind that only in 2021, special report from United Nations International Law Commission was issued. Still, that was the first document about sea level rise. Until now, it has no legal basis. This is only a document, a report, so rather blueprint, political analysis, rather than international law, a pathway, what to do, what to change. And guess what? I remember also Bangladesh. You as a deltaic country, you are largely affected by sea level rise. So of course, it is in your interest to change UNCLOS, to somehow annex it or write a new one. But vast majority of countries, including, well, Poland, they are not interested into changing status quo. They prefer to stick it. Why? Because they are not affected directly by international law.
Right. And one related issue is that, look, you were referring to technological advancement. We have this UNCLOS which has granted access to a huge, vast majority area of the sea, and also these global commons. You were referring to deep seabed mining, whereas I cannot explore and exploit the sea resources within the national jurisdiction, let alone the areas beyond the national jurisdiction, which is still a challenge for countries like Bangladesh. And we have this International Seabed Authority who gives the license to invest in the deep seabed area. There are environmental issues as well, you have rightly pointed out. This also has reminded me our recent visit to the Ankara University of the Sea Center, right? How do you compare that Turkey or any other maritime power? What should be the characteristic of a maritime power? I mean, does a country should a country turn into a maritime power if only it has the ocean, or it requires much more? What should be the characteristic of a maritime power, John?
Yes, a very good question. And exactly, Turkey, as we both visited the Hukam in Ankara, not in the same time, but again, we both have been there. So another country of joint interest. Turkey, just like US, is not part of UNCLOS. Yet, we must say that
They don't both have ratified. They don't have
exactly.
ratified.
They never ratified. They signed, but they didn't ratify it. So they still keep their restrictions. But what both countries are doing for the development of international law of the sea is enormous. Contrary to, for example, China is a proud member of UNCLOS, but what's happening at the South China Sea versus the Philippines? So not only law, ladies and gentlemen, but also politics, policy. So what kind of actions countries deploy? Do they organize in centers of excellence or courses in international law? How do they approach, how they tackle the issues? Also, when it comes to those countries in Oceania, but also in the Indo-Pacific, including, of course, Bangladesh, that for you it's very essential to have an impact, to have a meaningful impact on shaping this branch of international law, being law of the sea. So I devoted this during my postdoc research in Norway, that if we cannot find a consensus on an international level, because just to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, UNCLOS was debated long decades after Second World War, and yet it was first signed in 1982 and then ratified in 1994. So another decade, and even now not everyone is following. So we cannot afford waiting for another UNCLOS or another annexation of UNCLOS. Therefore, I claim that we should act regionally among neighbors, because maybe we not always agree with our neighbors, but at least we have much more in common with countries from the other side of globe, which share different legal culture.
Agreed. And there is a saying that you can change your wife, but you cannot change your neighbor. So,
Great. It is indeed. I couldn't agree less. Yes.
You need to sit on a table. But look, in order to get the best from the ocean or from the sea resources, you have to have this capability of negotiating with others.
Yes.
The big question is that whether the developing country like ours has that capacity to properly negotiate about international dealings, particularly with the sea, right? And some of the comments I should recognize. Shadat is saying, very nice to hear both of your scholarly discussion. Thank you. Imam Jaim saying, sir, love Imokon, right? And Sadiq is posing you a question that, do you think that UNCLOS should amend or include provision regarding deep sea mining? In fact, it is there, no?
It is there, and also check my book. There is a whole part of deep sea mining, so I am sure you will find more reply to your question.
Right. Ridwan Haq is telling that we are lucky to have such an amazing scholarly discussion that will help the law student and academics to think over the topic and make a research thinking. Grateful to both of you, dear sir and ma'am. Thank you so very much, Ridwan, for your comment. Now, next question to you. You were referring to sea politics as well. So do you mean that there are also politics related to sea or ocean governance?
Definitely. Sea is money. I will not lie. Sea is money, the resources, but also the lines of transportation. So aviation, primarily naval transportation, still the largest on the planet, Pacific Ocean. That's why I call the book 21st Century as the Pacific Century, because on the Pacific there is the biggest, the largest crossroads of trafficking. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about the money. And I remember I opened one of the conferences, and again, that was in Ankara, to be honest. I said, well, as I love both shipping and shopping, I must take care of that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, shopping is closely related to shipping. Everything what we are wearing, where we sitting, what we eat, the products, they are so interconnected. We live in a global village that we must be able to negotiate. And also what you said before, that what, for example, Bangladesh can bring to the table is also your human capital. So also Bangladeshi working in Poland, you have a lot to offer. And also it's always better to negotiate in a group versus one country versus one country. Look at the blue continent, so Oceania, that separately, sorry to say, but nobody would care about Vanuatu's international politics, right? Or Samoans' politics. But when they gather all those countries from Polynesia, Micronesia, Melanesia, and they come to United Nations, now there is a big voice.
Hassan Shazib is saying insightful discussion. Thank you. Iqbal Hassan is saying, Joanna, thanks a lot for being here. Suraya is saying, thank you very much for wonderful discussion. Thank you, Suraya, for joining with us. Now, there are some recent changes, particularly with the climate change. How the issue of climate change has impacted ocean governance, particularly you were referring to the small islands, those who has the possibility of getting submerged in future. For example, we have heard from our childhood that 1/30th of Bangladesh's southern part will, go down. So how do you see this impact? What are the legal consequences of climate change? With a note, I tell you, Bangladesh has been arguing for an international climate change fund to help the developing countries. So how do you see the legal consequences of climate change in terms of sea management?
So I see, again, three levels. Bilateral between two countries. The latest example from last month is Tuvalu Australian agreement, helping Tuvaluans to go and visit any plants on it, and therefore you cannot feed your animals or yourself. So it doesn't mean that countries or states will disappear per se, but they might be useless for you to exist. So this is one example. Then we have regional cooperation of countries who will try to land lease to buy, like Kiribati is doing, or maybe building some artificial islands inside the region at the multilateral level. And then we have global actions. So what can be done at the universal level? I wouldn't that much rely on United Nations, because yes, we had COP 28, another, and again, countries or heads of state will smile to cameras. They will say, yes, we will do that, but then we have another COP and nothing much has been done. So what I can observe, it's very interesting from our international law perspective, that there might be change of interpretation, not so much drafting new laws, hard laws, but rather going into soft law, how we understand some terms. Can we talk about a state who is submerged still a state? Because just to remind you, a state so far defined in Montevideo Convention 1933 must have a territory, permanent territory. So in a case when a state is losing such territory, can we now still call it a state? There is even a coined term, the territorialized state.
Very, very pertinent issue. Yes. Right. Now, do you see any shift in the international relations? Like we often refer to Indo-Pacific relationship. What is this Indo-Pacific, Joanna? Can you explain it to a bit for my audience? Because previously the world was bit either bipolar, Russia or America. Now it has been multipolar with a shift on Indo-Pacific area. So what is this Indo-Pacific area and why it is important? Why are we talking about actually Indo-Pacific relation?
Thank you for this question. Ladies and gentlemen, with the growth of Asian tigers, as we say, Asian tigers, China, Japan, Republic of Korea, India, they shifted the international relations when it comes to economics, but also politics. At the end of the last century. Yet that was not precisely in which way the international relations at the end went, ladies and gentlemen, because then we coined not Asia Pacific, but indeed Indo-Pacific. So not only focusing on the Pacific Rim, so all the countries, big countries around Pacific Ocean, but we extended the area of research, of interest, of policy making up to India, because only last year in 2022, Indian population outgrown China. For the first time in history, that was this
very important information.
Very important, ladies and gentlemen, because everyone thought that that would be a Chinese century, that China would push everywhere, but it is not that way, due to, of course, its infamous one-child policy, but also many problems inside that country, contrary to India, with so many educated people working all around the world. The passport of India is very much welcome, I would say, everywhere. Maybe not everywhere, but in a sense that they can really influence decision makers, the families. They already have settled position abroad, and also naval power is very, very much important. Yes, so far this is a Chinese People's Republic Navy, being the largest, or actually, if we stick to it, and I am a big fan of naval, me as a sailor myself. This is, ladies and gentlemen, actually not official Chinese Navy being the largest, but COSCO Shipping Company, so private owned, but of course in a communist system there is nothing private, but this is a state governed company by China. So those merchant ships, they have a bigger shipping flotilla than Chinese Navy. And then we have exactly American and Indian Navy. So they are the power, yet they are called a balancer. When you look at various analysts, you will read that India is a balancer. But I always say, do you think that such big political power would only appreciate to be a balancer? Definitely not. Definitely not, because as we all know, in politics, in real life, when somebody is aware of its strength, of its power, then we'll get that power. So far, India is a balancer, but who knows? Who knows what will happen in next decade?
Right. The other day I was Googling and found that Australia and India has entered into an agreement about managing the sea resources. So it is actually a competition, as well as making yourself relevant to the World Forum. You were also putting emphasis on cooperation, and I recall that Professor Rudiger Wolfram, the former president of the ITLOS, said that, look, cooperation itself has ripened into a right because if the states do cooperate, only then human rights, human capital makes sense. So cooperation by now has evolved into a principle of just causes. So if you want to tackle all those environmental issues, all those maritime security issues, cooperation is very, very important. And you have rightly explained the Indo-Pacific, recent shift and how it is relevant for the big powers as well as the local powers. Now, you were referring to your long voyage. I saw that you have a long voyage through the sea from, I guess, Poland to New Zealand. What was that? Can you share a bit of your experience with our
Yes,
audience?
definitely. So actually, last year I circled the globe 2 times, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh
That
my
was
God.
the craziest year in my whole life. Of course, many obstacles in between, because my luggage with all, medical uh, kit, with my, stuff, everything was lost. It was never found. I got severely sick on a tropical disease in Fiji. uh, many crazy things, but
Mhm.
ladies and gentlemen, yes, the ship, the largest training vessel in Norway, it is called Statsråd Lemköl. It was sailing from Chile, Valparaiso, to Fiji, where I met my students. I wouldn't say jump on board. I rather crawled, because I couldn't walk back then. I was sick, but well, I managed. And then we were sailing across the ocean, open ocean. So again, this common heritage of humankind. So besides, beyond national jurisdiction, we were not entering any harbors due to various reasons. First of all, that was still post-pandemic. For other countries, COVID was already gone, but for those small developing countries, they were still very sensitive about any, foreign incentive that might potentially hurt them. So we end up the voyage in Palau after 2 months. On open sea, and then I flew to Guam and then Honolulu, and then a few months later I came to New Zealand, our New Zealand. I visited our faculty of law, and then back again, Guam, Honolulu. So yes.
What a great voyage experience. I like the modern day Charles Cook, Ferdinand Magellan, Columbus.
Yes, indeed, just a female version from Poland.
Joanna, allow me to read few more comments from the audience side. May I know about the negotiation between Bangladesh and India regarding Tista River in accordance with the provisions of international law? They say, look, law of the river has a different rivulet of law,
Yes.
navigational convention. So it is governed by a separate convention. Choiti Banerjee saying Bangladesh is a key player in the Pacific reason to maintain peaceful balance with democratic governance. How do you think Bangladesh can continue to stand point or sovereignty in current international politics? This is a very complicated question by itself. Yes, being a developing country, South Asian country, obviously Bangladesh is confronted with some challenges like the way Joanna mentioned, that technology, negotiating power, right, and planning, legal preparedness. And for your information, Choiti, Bangladesh has made this law of the Sea Territorial Waters and Maritime Zones Act 2021 in line with the UNCLOS. And for Joanna's information as well, Bangladesh is also a championing country of the concept of exclusive economic zone. In its early days, Bangladesh made a law in 1974 and ratified the UNCLOS back in 1998, and back in 2001, and that paved the way of peacefully settling dispute between with its neighboring countries, Myanmar and Bangladesh, but still discussion is going on. Badhon, right. Ahmed Abdul Mateen from Maldives, he had joined with us. This is very informative discussion. I am attending this session all the way from Maldives.
Oh, greetings.
Yeah, I'm sure you will like to visit Maldives someday, a
Yes,
country
please.
which is which is estimated to be submerged 80% by 2050. So it's alarming.
It is, and
Uh,
that's why I always underline that it's not only Pacific countries, but also Indian Ocean countries.
hmm,
So islands and delta countries. And only to say a few words about Bangladesh.
hmm,
Um, no, you are not the world power, but
hmm,
you can be regional power. Look at Poland, my country. Uh, we are now 20th economy worldwide. Yet we cannot even compare to our Western European neighbors, meaning
hmm,
Germany or France. Therefore, instead of competing with them, we prefer to cooperate with our
hmm,
equals. So, Central European countries like Baltic countries, Czech, Hungary, Bulgaria, Romania. And that would be my advice for you. Because
hmm,
again, you also have a harsh history with your neighbors. But again, you can pick other neighbors, other countries who share similar story, history of again colonization, approach to philosophy, religion, and then build your international power on that. Because again,
hmm.
in international law there is place for everyone, like in nature there is no place for vacuum. This
True.
vacuum will be filled in anyway by somehow, by someone. So why not by you? So again, be proud of being Bangladeshi, and you still can do a lot and offer others a lot.
Certainly, certainly. And by now, Bangladesh has been a very great subject of sea research with the cases on against Myanmar and India. Now, Ridwan Haq is commenting that sea and geopolitics is a complicated issue of international law to ensure the interest of a nation by protecting undue and illegal interference of neighboring country and powerful country over others. Balancing of the international law is very, very important. Yes. Do you think it can be brought by amending rules, even charter relating to the Security Council, that is, by changing the provision of veto and increasing the number of the members of Security Council? Is it possible in future?
No, ladies and gentlemen, and also Masum is laughing himself because, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't say every, many lawyers were thinking that maybe because of invasion by Russia to Ukraine, the big five group of countries in the Security Council, that will be gone because that structure is very colonial. That is
Mhm.
very colonial. This is unacceptable. So only five countries will tell others what to do. We are all equal. We, exactly as you mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, Declaration of Human Rights, everyone is born
Mhm.
equal regardless of nationality or even lack of
Sure.
nationality he or she has. Therefore, unfortunately, if war in Europe at my border, because Poland is bordering with Ukraine, didn't
Mhm.
cause any changes in international law, United Nations Security Council, I don't think that ocean change affecting primarily poor,
Mhm.
underdeveloping countries, not bigger powers, because
Mhm.
they don't even want to change or annex UNCLOS, that would also
Mhm.
not make any change.
Very, very unlikely, yes. Look, within a blink of an eye, we have already passed 43 minutes. I should not hold you for a long time, but before I go, I have one more question to you. And before that, I want to recognize some more comments. Imam Jaim, hello, sir and ma'am. It's a great experience to hear from both of you. Such a remarkable discussion.
Thank you.
Parag has indicated a love emotion. Not pierogi, it's parag. Huh? Pierogi, for your information, is a very delicious Poland food dish, right? Choiti, Honorable Billah sir, thank you. Choiti, thank you so much. Now, Joanna, we are at the end of our discussion. you have rightly stirred our thought, and also have given some point for food for thought, and also I'm sure your discussion will contribute in creating, doing more research and study on law of the sea. I have some law of the sea students with me. What is your suggestion that if they want to do future research, future study in law of the sea, ocean governance, maritime lawfare, and related issues, what are some of your tips and suggestions for the Bangladeshi students and some other students who have joined with us?
Thank you. Well, definitely look from your perspective. I always use this in my research, me being European, me coming from the Central Eastern Europe, because your roots gave you who you are today. I absolutely disagree when people try to, erase their heritage. No, because this is something you can bring to the table. You can bring different perspective and different lens. So use that knowledge you got from Bangladesh, from your culture, your language, your legal culture, how you tackled your issues at the national level, and then use that to shape region or even global problems. So use the Bangladeshi examples to tackle, yes, deep sea mining as a common heritage of humankind, also the growing technology development in navigation, also in great power competition, about emerging powers, how they are trying to divide spheres of influence. Do that, and again, be proud where you come from, because not everyone should be born in in country A or country B. Absolutely not. So good luck in that, and as Masum said, I've been in almost every continent, working, studying, and it's always good to ask yourself why your interlocutor thinks that way, why he or she thinks differently than you do, because then you will come to very interesting conclusion. And again, it's not about judging other person, but asking yourself why, what kind of set of values, a system that person stands for. And it's really open-minded. I think that's the most beautiful thing I experienced. And also lastly, I would like to say that Masum was very good friend of mine during PhD studies in New Zealand. We shared laughter and tears, our personal, professional issues. That was always very kind to talk and even to pray, even though we come from different cultures. But I kept those memories in my heart, and I'm really honest to see you after so many years, my friend.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. You're so kind, and for your words, and I'm sure that your discussion will benefit us in many meaningful ways. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason which I chose this topic to talk with Joanna is a law of the sea, ocean governance is a less explored and less talked issue. Since the days of Proteas to 1982 convention to 2023 discussion, it has been a part and parcel of human development. And as we see the dream of making Bangladesh a developed country by 2041, it is very important to learn from other experiences. That's the reason why I, make you connected with Joanna and ask her some very pertinent question. And I'm sure that you will be influenced, and you will be very much glad to choose this area of research. And I'm sure Joanna will be open to ask any question in future if you really want to be connected with her. And I'm sure our path will intersect once again. From ELCOP, we do human rights summer school, we do some other research endeavor. And I'm sure Joanna in future will have this opportunity to invite you again. And how can I best thank you, rather than saying that our gratitude to you, and you have spared your very, very crucial time and shared this time with us and have enriched us in the bestest way possible. Thank you very much. And your last word for the audience.
Thank you very much once again to you, Professor Masum Billah. Ladies and gentlemen, we will link the website where you can download, find me on social media. I really wish you all the best, and be brave because the modern world needs brave students who want to make this world slightly better place, like Masum and me.
Thank you very much. That was Dr. Joanna Siekiera joining us all the way from Poland. And that is the end of Swapno Dakhe Bangladesh for today. And we'll return once again with a new guest in the next episode. Please stay tuned with us. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.